Hello friends, this is MandoPony here. I wanted to show you guys today how I make the bass lines for my FNAF songs. So what I've got here is just some drums that I've made. I'm not going to go into the mixing process. I'm not going to tell you where to get drum sounds. But this is what I've got just for this demonstration, just for the purposes of this video. A simple little drum beat. I actually go and I edit it here, change it around a little bit, just to make it more to my own liking. I have a collection of drum step samples that I use usually for these songs, and that's what I go to here. It's sort of my go-to library for that. There are lots of places online where you can go and find great drum samples. Some of them are for free, some of them are expensive. These were expensive. But you can also look up tutorials to make your own drum sounds, and that's always really rewarding and gratifying. The cymbals and the hi-hats that I use are from Steven Slate drums. I will use those really often. Sometimes I'll also use addictive drums for the drums. So here I am, I'm just playing around and editing this. Also, I apologize if you can't see my mouse in here. I don't use Bandicam very often, and I forgot to make it so that the mouse is visible, but I'll still explain what I do as I do it here. So there we go. We got a little drum beat going. It's kind of fun. Now, the heart of the songs, the bass that I make, I make my basses in massive. I know a lot of people prefer FM8 or FM7 or whatever, but I prefer massive. First thing that I'm doing is I go down to monophone, and then I make it so that it doesn't glide quite so much. And I just take that first oscillator and I pitch it down. And I just start playing around with the first sound, see if I can make something cool. And I like those groan samples, those are pretty good. That sounds interesting. So I go and then I up the voice count. More and more and more. Come on, Eileen. Da 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 da. Yeah, so this is the fun part. This is where I just experiment. I bring in a couple more oscillators, try a bunch of different wavetables. I really like to detune the second oscillator a little bit, just so that it's not quite exactly unison. Sometimes if the voices are the exact same pitch, they sound weird. Bringing in a third voice here, just trying to fill out the sound a little bit more. Going through my wavetables. I like those groans. They make cool, squelchy kind of sounds. I like to play with the bends and stuff. So here I just soloed the third oscillator so that I can actually take a listen to what I'm making. Or what I'm discovering, really. And then detune it a bit. And play them all together, and it sounds kind of cool. I like to play with the modulator. I pitch that up a bit, and creates a cool sense of motion in the bass sound. So I like that quite a lot. This is sort of the process that I go through every time I make a new electro pop song like this, either for FNAF or for anything else. This is the process I went through with my most recent song, and what I did with Just Gold, and what I've done with They Rise, and what I also did for They Need a Monster, my Undertale song. There's the secret ingredient right there. I like to spread it out. I like to use that pan spread there. And then I'll go to that fourth envelope and just shorten the attack. So it's really quick and punchy. And that's pretty much all that I'll do for the main bass sound. Just rename it something that makes sense. Bass 1, sure, why not? Yeah, it sounds kind of aggressive and fun, lively. And now I get to do the really fun part, which is write a bass line. And what I like to do more than anything else is just follow the drums. Like, every time a drum hit, whether it's the kick or the snare, every time it goes off, that's when I try to put in a bass note and just play around. I don't know why I put down that F sharp there. For some reason, it's like I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear that was like a major note instead of a minor note. I wanted this to be in D minor, and I just accidentally put in that F sharp, and I don't notice that it's an F sharp instead of an F for a little while. So you're just gonna have to live with that mistake for a bit, because I'm terrible. So here I go. I like to just feel it out. I like to just write stuff on the piano roll, following along with the drum track that I put down earlier. Sometimes I'll just play it on the piano a little bit and try and come up with an interesting bass line there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is usually what I do. Sometimes I'll have lyrics written before I get to this stage. Other times I won't. It's really an organic process that changes every single time, but I just thought if you guys are interested in seeing, let's give this a test. So I decide I like where this is going, and I don't delete the whole thing. Sometimes I do. Sometimes, you know, the first pass is not always the best. So I'm just going through and editing this a little bit, changing things, finishing this little measure. But yeah, this is not going to cover how I mix, because I'm not great at mixing. This is just how I write bass lines. Okay, so what I did here is I moved that all up an octave so it's easier to hear the actual notes I'm putting down. It kind of helps me fine tune the melody or the bass line, change it around a little bit. I don't really know what I was thinking there, but it inspires me to change the bass line a bit. Yeah, this is the fun part. You just want to play around, figure out something that sounds good, and that's what this video is really all about, is just showing you how I go through this process, and maybe helping you guys out if this is something that you want to do. You can make a similar sounding sort of song. Of course, I encourage you to, you know, not use exactly this massive patch that I create, you know. Make your own, because that's the fun part, you know. You want to make your own custom sounds. So I sort of like where this is going, and you might have noticed in the EQ for this massive patch, I took out all the bass. Now you may be asking, why do I take out all the bass in my bass sound? And that's because I'm going to duplicate this and make my own sub-bass patch. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I've in that original bass patch that I made, I had many voices going, and I spread it out all the way to the left and right. I panned it to the left and the right. And you really don't want that with a sub bass. You want the sub bass to be in a mono channel. So I always create a separate mono sub bass patch, and then I just play it over or under, I guess, the other bass patch that I made. So here's what I'm doing here. I like to ease off on the attack quite a lot, just so that it sort of floats in a bit. This isn't perfect, but it's a start. Sometimes I'll have two voices going, but I think I end up turning off my second oscillator here, because one is really all that's needed. Yeah. You can make some really funny sounds. It's a funny sound. So yeah, this is just a process again, playing around until it sounds right. And then when you play it together, hopefully it sounds good. Just bring up the drums a bit more. So again, you know, this is not mixed properly. It's not mixed at all, really. This is just how I go about writing. So if you know me and you know my music, you know I love piano, and you know I love putting piano in these songs, because I think it gives sort of a classy yet creepy edge to it. So I sort of know that I want to do almost like a reggae stab, you know, on the upbeat. So I just start putting down some notes here. And I kind of know in my head already like where I want to go at this point, and I just want to put it down. Kind of make it creepy with that flatted 5 there. And now I'm just manually putting in the sustain automation. It's because I don't, for these types of songs, I don't actually play the piano. I just put it down on the piano roll. it's a lot faster to write it that way. And I don't mind if it's like, you know, completely quantized to the grid, because even if it sounds a little unnatural, it doesn't sound very human while playing it. It still kind of works with the song and the electronic vibe. I think that unnaturally perfect timing suits what I'm going for. So here I'm just playing around, and I want to play with the 5 chord, so I go to the A there. My Bach influence is showing up there with that arpeggio. I really highly recommend listening to a lot of classical music, because it can inspire you on your pop tracks or your rock tracks or hip hop, anything you want to make. Classical music can provide you with a lot of invaluable tools, very, very valuable tools. But I'm just playing around with ideas. And I kind of like where that's going, so I think that's pretty much where I end it. And that's the process that I undertake to make the FNAF music that I make and a bunch of the other electropop music that I make. It's all about massive, it's all about cool drums, and I really like piano in there too. So I hope this was helpful, and if you liked it, like the video and let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions, I'll try to get to you. Happy composing.